That's the national symbol of Uganda, the crested crane, which appears on the country's flag and the coat of arms, of course. But these beautiful birds are now considered endangered as their wetland homes are being lost to farming. There are around 20,000 left in the world. The BBC's Patience Atuere has been to meet communities in Kibale in the southwest of the country as they work to save the crane and the wetlands that it inhabits to protect biodiversity and limit climate change.
They are a picture of grace and elegance, a symbol of national pride and cultural significance. But these stunning birds may be one of a few large flocks of crested crane left in this region. As people continue to drain and reclaim swathes of swampland for farming to meet the demands of a growing population, the cranes have limited nesting and breeding spaces. And there are other perils too. The cranes are creatures of habit and they tend to return to the same feeding grounds. Even when the environment around them keeps changing, they try to adapt. But that is a danger to their lives because in some cases, farmers poison them for destroying crops. This scientist has dedicated the last 2 decades of his work to conservation of the crane. He travels around the region monitoring the birds, counting individual birds, pairs and flocks, and keeping track of their breeding and feeding cycles.
They are indicators of environmental health. Where you find them, especially where they nest, it means it is still pristine. It is still in its similar to the natural conditions.
Maintaining biodiversity is key to regulating greenhouse gases, and wetlands are also said to be the most effective carbon sinks on the planet.
Wetlands here in Kabale contain a lot of peat. If you excavate peat and you open it up, it brings out a lot of these greenhouse gases. And this is what we are now suffering, which is climate change.
Jimmy worked with local communities to restore at least 500 hectares of degraded wetlands. And, he says, the number of cranes has now stabilized. Convincing locals to give up potential farming land has not been easy. But now, some have become crane custodians, keeping an eye on the birds and reporting any that are injured or killed, as well as pairs that have nested or have chicks. And restoring parts of the swamp has brought some economic benefits.
We get tourists here now. People come to see how we have restored the swamp. We also get lots of visitors who encourage us to do more to protect the birds, such as cranes. We can now also harvest materials from the swamp, which we use to make household items like baskets and mats.
Beyond loss of habitat, there are other threats. In some cases, the cranes are caught as trophy birds, their wings clipped to tame them and prevent them from returning to the wild or even breeding. Uganda has already lost over 40% of its wetlands in the last 2 decades. So, in some parts of the country, it may be too late for the cranes. But Jimmy is determined to continue his fight to save these beautiful birds. Patience Atuere, BBC News, Southwestern Uganda.
NBC's Ali Vitali is on Capitol Hill. So how did Ali, this vote for McConnell, go down? And what did he tell you guys in the reporter squad?
Well, look, it went down the way he said it would, which is that Mitch McConnell is still the top Republican in the Senate. But you can't talk about this reckoning that they're having right now, both in the Senate and in the House around leadership, without thinking about the Trump factor of it all. For someone like Mitch McConnell, part of the reason that he even had a challenger is because someone like Donald Trump has been so critical of McConnell-led efforts on the Senate side. But also Senator Rick Scott, a close ally of former President Donald Trump and the man who ultimately challenged McConnell. He got 10 votes. McConnell got 37, a far larger number than what he needed to actually keep his role atop the caucus. But this is how he always said it was going to shake out. Still, his first challenge in 15 years that he has been in leadership. So notable on that front. But look, McConnell kind of had the same assessment that everyone else has had, which is that this is the red wave that didn't materialize. This is part of what he told reporters.
I never predicted a red wave to begin with, if you all recall. I said all along this is going to be close.
So So McConnell saying there and sort of airing the grievance that he has long had between Rick Scott and Mitch McConnell, that we've long heard between Rick Scott and Mitch McConnell, which is they have regularly sparred over issues of candidate quality, which races were actually winnable, where the money and resources should go. All of those things were spats that these two men had along the way of the midterm elections. The fact that it would come out in a leadership election is, again, something to take note of here. But McConnell defiant as he was talking to reporters there and clear about the message that Republicans need to put forward, making the point that they struggled among voters who may not have loved Biden, but who weren't finding what they needed in the Republican messaging.
Control of the U.S. House could be decided at any moment.
Republicans are looking to solidify the party's leadership for the next session in Congress as the midterm results are continuing to trickle in.
Yeah, let's take a look at them now. CBS News projects the GOP is now just one single seat away from hitting the 218 threshold needed to claim the majority in the lower chamber. California Representative Kevin McCarthy is expected to be named the next Speaker of the House. Republicans in the Senate nominated the current House Minority Leader for the role by a vote of 188 to 31. For more, let's bring in CBS News national correspondent Scott MacFarlane to discuss this. Scott, how significant is the fact that 31 Republicans voted against Kevin McCarthy, and what does that mean for his chances of becoming Speaker of the House?
It's a pretty big hurdle, Errol. He needs to surmount that hurdle between now and January 3rd. January 3rd is when the next Congress begins, the 118th Congress, and the 188 votes he got from his House Republican Conference members yesterday to be their nominee for Speaker will not be sufficient to make him Speaker on January 3rd. He has to corral 30 more votes from House Republicans. If it's a very narrow margin, should they take the majority, if it's a 3 or 4 seat margin, that means he has only 3 or 4 votes to lose. And nearly 3 dozen House Republicans voted in protest of him, in essence, yesterday by voting for the alternative candidate, Andy Biggs. Now, that gives those 30 or so members quite a bit of leverage between now and January 3rd to try to exact some concessions from Kevin McCarthy, get him to support something that they're pushing. But also, it's worth noting, Errol and Lana, Kevin McCarthy has some leverage, too.
Right.
There's no viable alternative for those 218 votes inside the Republican Party, and Republicans are not about to let Nancy Pelosi or whoever leads the Democrats next year become Speaker with their majority. So both sides will push and pull, and we'll see how this culminates January 3rd.
Yeah, I imagine that would be difficult to explain to your constituents if you're a Republican elected, saying that you cast a vote that allowed Nancy Pelosi to become Speaker there. Let's talk about the Senate, Scott, because Florida Senator Rick Scott is challenging Mitch McConnell for his seat as the Senate Minority Leader. Not only does it sort of continue those themes about infighting within the Republican Party that we're talking about, but I'm wondering, what is he hoping that he can bring that McConnell hasn't brought to that leadership position over the last couple of sessions?
In his letter to his colleague, Senator Rick Scott, the former Florida governor, the first-term Florida senator, said he wants to be a change agent, that Republicans too often have been caving to Democrats, and that's partly to blame for their less than sought performance last Tuesday at the midterm elections. The letter obtained by CBS News includes all kinds of details of how he'd shake up the status quo. He's trying to surmount Mitch McConnell in Republican leadership in the U.S. Senate. Mitch McConnell, a storied figure in modern Republican era in the U.S. Senate, but the story is more like Don Quixote. He doesn't have the votes to make this happen, according to Mitch McConnell. Rick Scott doesn't have the votes. During a marathon Wednesday morning meeting here at the Capitol, Republicans appear destined to be ready to re-elect Mitch McConnell as their leader. So Rick Scott is aiming for something. It doesn't appear he's going to hit what he's aiming at, though.
Fascinating to watch all this jockeying take place, though. Scott MacFarlane, thank you very much.
I do love a good Don Quixote reference.
Yeah, well.
All right, this morning we have an update on the issue of control of Congress. CBS News now estimates Republicans are 1 seat away from winning the 218 seats for a slim majority in the House after failing to take over the Senate. Both of the top GOP leaders on Capitol Hill, House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy and Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, are facing challenges from within their party. Nicole Killian is following this for us.
before an official call. House Republicans assume the majority, nominating Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy as their next speaker.
The era of one-party Democrat rule in Washington is over.
In a closed-door vote, the California Republican won the backing of 188 members. 31 voted against him, and he needs at least 218 when the new Congress convenes early next year.
Do you think you will have the votes by January to become Speaker?
Yes, we have our work cut out for us. We've got to have a small majority. We've got to listen to everybody in our conference.
McCarthy fended off a last-minute bid by conservative Arizona Congressman Andy Biggs. Some members of the right-wing House Freedom Caucus demanded more concessions, while others want a new leader.
Well, I think we can do better.
There was also drama in the Senate, where Minority Leader Mitch McConnell faced his first leadership challenge in 15 years from Florida Republican Rick Scott, who called for a change from the status quo.
I have the votes. I will be elected.
After a tense 3.5-hour meeting, some senators called for a delay in this week's election following the GOP's lackluster midterm performance.
I've got nothing personal against Mitch McConnell. It is a hard job.
If you're the coach of the #1 football team in the country, and you go in and you lose 1, 2, 3 big games that you're supposed to win, you know what happens? That coach gets fired.
McConnell and Scott have been at odds for months, with McConnell arguing that candidate quality was more important, while Scott, who ran the campaign strategy for Senate Republicans, said he believes that the party should have put forth a plan to voters. Gail?
All right, to be continued for sure. Nicole, thank you.